Long time no see.
Long time no see. How's things going in Florida today?
Eh,
Hot,
rainy.
humid.
Yeah, same old, same old. Crazy people. Same old.
Well, I'm super excited to get to talk to you. I mean, first of all, it's important to mention that you were part of our residency program, I think like 2020, 2021 maybe was. And I remember, I think you were also part of when we did Zone and Co, and you participated in several exhibitions through many years. So it's good to have you back into the community and to talk to you about your work. Most
Mm,
notably, I'm super excited to talk about like the residency program that you did,
mm,
which I remember you were going through the application process when you were in the residency as well.
right.
And you're going to be a part of a Efímero show that opens on October 4th here in Mexico City. Too. So I'd like to kind of enter into this by talking a little bit about the context of your work, which is so appropriate for a show juxtaposed against Dia de los Muertos and the idea of memory and transience. So could you talk a little bit about your work and the themes of your work?
Right, yes. So it's based on ephemeral concept. So it's pretty much everything is changing around us. It doesn't matter how fast it's changing, everything will go away. So I usually print my work on ice because I'm interested how the material changed the image. I'm interested in this two relationship. And the piece that I sent it to the show, actually I sent it yesterday. It should be arrive at 13, September 13th. Yeah, so that piece is part of my old photo collection from my family. So the piece was in 1960. The photograph was happened in 1960, and so many things changed since then. And I just been in the same building where the picture had been taken not long ago, and the building looks exactly the same. So I was kind of interested how people around the building changing so much, and they disappear. Some of them are not here anymore, but the life is going on. Everything is kind of following the same rhythm. So that's the overall concept of ephemera, how the fast changing world, and we are changing, and everything is changing, and why are we doing oil painting on canvas, which is gonna disappear, but maybe it takes longer time to disappear, but it will disappear the same way as my prints on ice too. So
Yeah, and this idea of printing on ice is so fascinating. I mean, it's such a unique way to represent the transience of imagery and life and the stories that we tell each other. How did you start printing on ice? Like that is such I would never even think to do that.
mm. Well, first I wanted to print on water. That was my first, my big art hero is Oscar Munoz, who is a Colombian artist, and he
Mhm.
he has like a series about images on water, and I always loved that. That was my inspirational piece. But however, I managed to able to print on water. That's something what I didn't want to do. Like that's his thing. So but in the experimental phase, I was outside and I happened to see a piece of ice in my backyard when I lived in Memphis, and I was just amazed of the beauty of this natural form, and I wanted to do something with it. So that's how it started. So I
Yeah,
print.
that's a pretty amazing like leap to to be looking at ice and think, oh, yeah, I'm going to print on ice. I mean, that must have required a lot of experimentation to get it correct over I'm sure a fair amount of time and everything. Um, you the images that you're printing on ice, you refer to are these images from your family. Where are you originally from?
Hungary.
Hungary, okay. And so they have the images themselves are very like they have this sort of old world sort of feeling to them, but the dynamics of watching the images fade away on ice, what is the significance for you about that?
It kind of like a little bit of fortune telling, you know, because it's so unpredictable. So first of all, the printing is unpredictable. And then the second is the melting is very unpredictable too. And they all together create like an interesting dialogue, how the image changing. So it became like a moving image, and moving image for me, for some reason, it's more interesting than the 2D image, like a flat piece. So yeah.
Great way to show that movement, because I've seen some of your other pieces where, you know, it's like layered paper and sort of more like a book form, because that allows you to have movement and, you know, transience within an image. But like, actually like stand in front of a piece and like watch it disappear and be able to repeat that over and over again, without the actual ice block being in the gallery or in the play space. Have you done like performative work where you actually are in the space and printing and watching it melt within the space, or?
I only had a chance to do that one time in 2018 at IPC New York in Chelsea, Manhattan. And it was a show of 7 melting pieces of the same. So I was able to print them before the show, and the gallery was on the 2nd floor, but the freezer was on the 8th floor, and then there were like a big giant cooler, and it looked like we were transporting like human organs, kind of. It was like very interesting because the print was like an eye, so the whole thing looked like an eyeball in that. It was very interesting, and I had 2 opportunities which have been canceled by COVID. I was supposed to go to Hong Kong and do an installation about the same idea, like printed images, but the word I was planning to do is the word truth. So it was text-based, so I was interested to see how truth have been manipulated, and it was right after the Hong Kong protest, so it was like a very accurate time, but COVID said no. And then there was another opportunity around the same time, and that was in Miami. It was a botanical garden, and they had like a giant beautiful gallery space, and I was going to do a same, but some kind of like natural forms printed on the ice, but that was a no-go
And
too.
you did a residency last year. I'd love to talk about that a little bit too, because I can't imagine
Mhm.
how inspirational it must have been. You were in, was it Iceland or?
No, I was in Svalbard. That's the northernmost archipelago. Is that the right word? Archipelago, a bunch of islands. Yeah, the that's the northernmost where humans are. And then we went even north from there. We were 3 weeks sail in a sailing boat. It was amazing. Like I can't. It's just amazing
So
experience.
how are you using that residency? I mean, you literally are surrounded by ice. So, I mean, were you actually doing prints on ice there, or?
When I was very excited to try printing on snow, which I have never done before, and that was my first time. And I was working on a new series about kind of about remembering like inner peace, inner silence kind of ideas, because over there it was so ridiculously beautiful but so quiet. So I had a couple words when I was printing on snow. I had a piece where I was printing the word impatient, and I was just literally sitting there and waiting how the snowflakes are covering my work. And that was just beautiful. I love that.
Well, I was say, because it's too cold for it to necessarily melt in your, like in your previous work. So how does it change? And I guess that's how it changes. More snow falls on top of it.
Yeah.
It just
It
would be very interesting if like one day somebody was there and it just so happened to appear and start to melt, and people would be like, wait, what is going on here? Like the anthropological discovery.
right. Yeah. And then the other part of the residency, I was working together with my childhood friend, my best friend from my childhood. She became a children's right researcher. She has her PhD in law, but she have her concentration on children's right. So we had this project together about climate change, like how much say underage people have about their future. So I find this collaboration very interesting. We had the project called Wind Whispers. So we were collecting messages, young people under 16, about their wish and hope and future plans about climate change. And I turned that into a screen, and I took it with myself to the Arctic. So I had these messages from kids, and I used organic ash, which is like chocolate powder pretty much. And I was printing their messages on the snow, and I was waiting how the wind is kind of picking up the images and activating, and just, it was very interesting how the messages kind of disappeared and landed up in the fjords, and then carrying those hopes and wishes, and it kind of like based on the idea of the wind, the prayer wind pray no prayer
Like the prayer, like in Tibetan tradition, where the wind is the prayers.
Right, exactly. So we kind of get the inspiration from there when the wind is activating a prayer, and it's like a non-stopping thing. So we kind of use the same idea with the messages and the wind and the snow. So I have a lot of that. And then this summer, I received a faculty grant, and I took the same images to Costa Rica. And I was printing them on the rainforest, on the soil, on the leaf, and in a very, very different environment where climate change is also important, but it shows a very different face.
Right.
Yeah. So I had one very interesting interaction because I started to see ants. And the ants was like so interested what's going on their soil, and I used baking soda because it was a black soil, so I wanted to have contrast. So I used baking soda. I had to have a fine powder to do that. So I was printing on baking soda, and the ants came and they're checking out what's going on. And about a really short time, almost the same time, they messed up the whole message, like it disappeared, but not because of the wind, it's because the ants. And I find this very beautiful. So I think it's interesting how we turn the whole thing like kind of like interactive way.
I mean, there's kind of a religious, not religious, but like a spiritual aspect to the way that you have produced your process, and like it allows for not only the creation but also the destruction, but you witness the entire life cycle of the piece of art. And I'm curious for you, are you a spiritual person, or?
It comes and goes. To be honest. It depends on the weather. I'm sorry. I just have to be honest.
No, it's fine. I mean, I think one of the aspects of it that's fascinating is this idea that in order to witness the piece of work, you actually have to stand still and allow this to unfold in front of you, and there's sort of an acceptance, because within the art world, we're so we tend to focus on things that are going to have longevity. You know, we're thinking, oh, in generations, people need to be able to experience my perspective on the world and everything. And this is, you know, a fleeting sort of thing. You know, obviously there's the documentation, but the actual experience of it disappears. So we're witnessing the sort of memory of it. Talk just for a moment. I would love to hear about how memory plays a role within your work.
It does, because just exactly what you said, like the experience became a memory. And I really got inspired. Milan Kundera's book, he is a Czech writer. He wrote a book about immortality. And one of his ideas is like the memory, the collective memory. There's so many different type of memories, like how do we remember things, and to become a part of the collective memory could create some type of immortality in around us. Hi, puppy. And you know, the experience of the art piece, I think, is so much more important to exist in the memory. And if people are still talking about it, that means my piece is still alive.
Right.
Like the same way as like we're still talking about people who died like long time ago. Like we have no
Right.
idea how the Roman empires look like, but we're still talking about them because we remember them, and they became kind of like immortal. And that's what I'm hoping for my piece, is turning into a different form and be part of the memory, other than just something what people can.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea, and it's in contrast to the sort of commercial aspects of art in general. It's so intimate and personal, and I think it's a great compliment to the show and the juxtaposition against the holiday of Dia de los Muertos and cultural and everything. So I'm super excited to have your participation in the show. I've been trying to get back to work with you for it feels like a decade or more, but it's only been a couple of years. But I'm happy to see you again and present your work, and I'm super excited to have it as part of the project.
Me too. Me too. Thank you.